I'm going to show you how I embroidery this Christmas photo frame. So first of all, we need a hoop and some fabric in it. And then I used my template here just as a guide to this 2026 stitch and sticker. Then using 4 strands of dark green thread. We are going to start with the trunk of our tree. Starting from one side of your pattern line, come up through the top edge of that line and go down towards the bottom edge of where you want your tree to end. You can use a running stitch for this part. It doesn't have to be perfect or anything like that. Just make sure that when you get to the very end, you leave yourself enough space at the top there so that you can turn around and come back over what you've already stitched with another row of stitches. This is called an outlining stitch. It's really easy once you know how to do it. But if you don't feel confident doing this yet, then definitely stick to a running stitch instead. That will work absolutely fine too. Once you're happy with the length of your tree, just tie off your thread at the other end and cut away any excess. Now let's move on to the branches. Using 3 strands of light green thread, start by coming up through the middle of your tree, where you left off stitching before. Then take your needle and pull it diagonally across, from right to left, until you reach the outside edge of your tree. When you get to the edge of your tree, pull your needle straight down into the fabric at about 90 degrees, and then pop your needle back up again, about ½ centimeter along, in between those last 2 stitches. We'll repeat these steps until we finish the whole branch section. For me, I had 4 sections altogether. The next step is optional, but I wanted mine to look more fuller than this. So I added a few extra branches in each section. To add these extra branches, all you need to do is follow exactly the same steps as before, but stop halfway along before pulling your needle down into the fabric. Instead, keep hold of the tail of your thread and bring it back up through the fabric a couple of millimeters further along. If you find that you're having trouble seeing, it is easy to follow. Try holding your hoop upside down or even flipping it completely round so that you're looking at it from underneath. Sometimes this makes things easier. Next, we're gonna fill in the rest of our tree using Basic Stitch to Embroidery 2026. These are super simple to do. Once you know how they work, all you need to do is grab your needle and thread and push them both together through the fabric so that they meet. Pull your needle and thread tight against the fabric for a moment, and then slowly release tension while twisting the knot around itself. Then, push your needle back through the fabric and tighten everything up. Again, you should see a nice, neat knot form. Repeat this process until you've filled in all of the gaps within your tree. There's no real method to this bit. You could either try to follow the lines that were drawn originally, or just randomly place them anywhere that looks good to you. I personally prefer random placement because it gives it a much more natural look. Remember to always change direction when moving from one section to the next. Otherwise, you might end up with something looking a little bit wonky. Also remember not to put too many knots in one area. Otherwise, it may bunch up and cause problems later on. Another thing worth mentioning is that sometimes it helps to give your threads a slight twist while pushing them through the fabric. This adds texture, which looks great, especially if you're working with thicker threads, like DMC Pearl Cotton size 5. Don't worry though if you forget to do this. Your knots will still look lovely. Okay, now we're almost done with our tree. Let's quickly recap what we did earlier. Firstly, we drew on the outline of our tree, which was basically a series of curved lines, starting from the top, going downwards and finishing at the bottom of the page. After drawing the outline, we started filling in the trunk of our tree by creating a series of short, straight lines following the curve of the original outline. We also created small branches above each line, following the same technique. Finally, we filled in the rest of the tree by adding lots of tiny knots, randomly placed throughout the design. Alright, time to wash. Before washing your embroidery piece, make sure you remove any loose ends and trim away any long bits of thread sticking out of the fabric. Washing your embroidery pieces properly will help preserve their beauty and longevity for years to come. Here's a quick tip for you guys. Make sure you only ever hand wash your embroideries, if possible, because machine washes can often damage delicate fabrics such as linen,